Have you ever wondered why some people rise higher while others keep stumbling in the same place? Even when both have the same skills, the same knowledge, and the same opportunities, it's not always about talent. It's not even about working harder. Sometimes it's about the one thing most people overlook: calmness. The ability to stay calm in the middle of chaos is a hidden trait that separates those who succeed from those who crumble under pressure. Calmness is often misunderstood. People think staying calm means you're passive or that you don't care. But in reality, it's the opposite. Calmness is strength under control. It means your emotions don't run your life. You do. When everything around you is falling apart and you still have the discipline to breathe, to think, and to act with purpose, you become powerful. You become unstoppable. Most people react too quickly. They panic when life pushes them. They shout, complain, or give up when things get uncomfortable. But calm people don't do that. They take the hit, absorb the pressure, and then move forward with focus. That's not weakness. That's power. Calmness gives you an edge in a world that's constantly trying to knock you off balance. Think about this. How often have you made a poor decision just because you were overwhelmed? How many times did your anger, fear, or anxiety cause you to say something you regretted or walk away from something important? That's what chaos does. It blinds you. It hijacks your mind. But when you're calm, you're not blind. You see everything. You feel the storm, but you don't become the storm. And here's the truth. People who master calmness also master timing. They know when to act, when to wait, and when to walk away. That kind of control makes you dangerous in the best way possible. You stop playing on the emotional level of others, and you start leading. You stop reacting and start creating. Because calmness creates space. And in that space, you get to think, to plan, to decide what really matters. Everyone is chasing noise, shouting their opinions, racing the clock, competing to be seen, to be heard, to be recognized. But success doesn't always come to the loudest. It comes to the one who moves with quiet confidence, the one who doesn't let the pressure rush their decisions, the one who's calm enough to observe, to adapt, and to grow. Being calm doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you've learned how to deal with fear, with pressure, with uncertainty. It means you've trained your mind not to flinch every time life throws a punch. Calmness is a mindset, a lifestyle, and it pays off more than most people realize. Because when you're calm, people trust you. They listen to you. They respect you. You don't need to demand attention. Your presence speaks for itself. And that's the kind of presence that wins in silence. If you stick with this message until the end, you'll learn how to build that presence, how to develop unshakable calm, how to stop reacting and start leading your life with focus and power. This isn't just about being relaxed. It's about being prepared, being in control, being ready for anything. And if you truly take this to heart, you'll never see pressure the same way again. What's coming next could change how you deal with stress, how you move toward your goals, and how you face every challenge. Because the path to success isn't just paved with effort, it's paved with clarity. And clarity lives in a calm mind. Keep going. This is where the shift begins. Clarity isn't found in noise, it's born in stillness. A calm mind doesn't just react to the world, it understands it. When you're calm, you're able to see through distractions, lies, and pressure. You don't just hear the loudest voice, you hear the truth. That's why calmness is so rare, because truth requires silence, and most people are too busy making noise to hear it. When your mind is racing, your thoughts are tangled. You can't solve problems in that state. You can't plan your future when you're drowning in panic. That's why successful people prioritize inner peace, because with peace comes power. You begin to notice details others miss. You see patterns, opportunities, and threats before they even show up. Your decisions stop being guesses and start becoming strategy. Every setback, every rejection, every painful moment becomes manageable when you're calm. Because you're not chasing emotional relief, you're choosing mental control. You begin to trust your own pace. You don't let others rush you. You stop comparing your journey. You stop fighting what you can't control and start mastering what you can, yourself. People who live with calmness don't need to prove anything. They don't chase validation. They already know who they are and where they're going. They build in silence. They grow without applause. They understand that storms don't destroy calm people, they reveal them. And when the storm passes, it's the calm one who's still standing, ready to rise. Success doesn't always come to the smartest or the fastest. It comes to the clearest. And clarity only exists in a calm, focused mind. A mind that's not easily shaken. A mind that refuses to drown in panic or be driven by fear. That's the kind of mind that builds something powerful, something unshakable. That kind of mind doesn't wait for the right moment. It becomes the right moment. When emotions take control, logic disappears. That's why most people fail to make the right choices under pressure. They let fear speak louder than reason. They act before thinking. And when the dust settles, they're left with regret. A calm mind doesn't fall into that trap. It holds the emotion back just long enough to let reason take the lead. That pause, that breath, that moment of silence between the trigger and the response, that's where strength lives. In life, the ones who win are not always the ones who move the fastest. They're the ones who move with precision. And precision only happens when the mind is steady. A steady mind doesn't panic when plans change. It doesn't collapse when something goes wrong. It adapts, it learns, it finds the next move while everyone else is stuck reacting to the last one. Human psychology is wired to protect us through emotion, but that same system can turn against us when it isn't trained. Uncontrolled emotion turns small problems into huge setbacks. But when you're calm, you shrink the problem. You remove the drama. You deal with what's in front of you, not the stories your fear wants to tell. Calmness breaks the loop of overthinking. It stops the cycle of doubt. Most people get caught in that loop. Something bad happens, they overreact. Then they feel guilt, then more fear. And the spiral continues. But a calm mind breaks that chain. It observes instead of absorbs. It responds instead of reacts. That difference changes everything. This is what makes calmness a powerful weapon. It doesn't just make life easier, it makes you better. You start thinking clearer, choosing smarter, and living lighter. You begin to trust your ability to handle anything. Not because everything is easy, but because you've trained yourself to stay calm even when it's not. That mindset gives you a quiet kind of power, the kind that doesn't need to be loud to be felt. Calm people don't rush to prove themselves. They don't argue to be right. They don't react to every insult or challenge. Instead, they pause, they think, they hold back, not out of fear, but out of mastery. That pause creates power. It separates those who are controlled by their impulses from those who choose their response. In that pause, you gain control. And when you control your response, you control your life. Most people don't understand the strength of stillness. They see calmness as being passive. But it's not. It's deliberate. It's calculated. It's the ability to step back and see the whole picture when everyone else is focused on the noise. That kind of mental discipline can't be faked. It's built through choice after choice. Choosing to breathe when your heart is racing. Choosing to wait when everything in you wants to explode. That's power most people never develop. When you learn to control how you react, you stop being a puppet to your environment. You stop giving others the power to affect your peace. That's when real confidence is born, because you're no longer at the mercy of what's outside you. You're anchored inside. You're steady. People feel that when they're around you. They notice it, even if they can't explain it. It's a presence, a calm energy that commands respect without needing to demand it. You'll start to realize how rare calmness really is, how much chaos is normalized, and how powerful you become when you step outside of it. Calm people don't get pulled into every fight. They don't chase every opportunity. They don't react to every storm. They choose. And that ability to choose clearly, wisely, without emotion controlling the wheel is the path to real success. Because you're not just surviving anymore. You're leading yourself with intention. And that's when everything begins to change. People are naturally drawn to calmness. It creates a sense of safety. In a world full of emotional outbursts and constant noise, the person who stays composed becomes magnetic. Calmness isn't just a personal strength, It becomes a silent influence. Others notice it, even without words, they feel it, and they begin to trust it. Calm people are often the ones others turn to in times of crisis, not because they have all the answers, but because their energy doesn't add to the chaos. Respect is earned in how you carry yourself under pressure. Anyone can act strong when things are easy, but when the pressure rises, that's when character is exposed. The one who stays calm, who keeps their tone steady, who doesn't lash out or fall apart, that's the person people follow. Not because they demand leadership, but because they embody it. In human psychology, we tend to mirror the energy around us. If someone is anxious, we feel that anxiety. If someone is panicking, we feel the urge to panic too. But the reverse is also true. A calm person can regulate the emotions of an entire room just by being centered. That's influence, and it's not loud. It doesn't need attention. It works quietly, deeply, and effectively. This is the kind of calm that makes an impact, not just on your own life, but on the lives of those around you. It changes how people treat you. It changes how people speak to you. It changes how people think of you. Because when you carry calmness, you carry credibility. And when people trust your energy, they begin to trust your vision. That's how success grows, through steady steps, clear direction, and a mind that doesn't break under pressure. Calmness isn't just how you survive the storm, it's how you rise above it. Mistakes often come from rushing, from acting before thinking, from letting stress make decisions instead of strategy. That's where calmness saves you. It slows everything down. It creates space between the problem and the reaction. And in that space, you find better choices, clearer options, smarter moves. Calmness doesn't just make life feel easier, it makes your thinking sharper. When you're calm, you don't just avoid the big mistakes, you also begin to notice the small patterns that lead to them. You catch yourself before you say something you can't take back. You notice the warning signs before a situation explodes. That awareness gives you power. It keeps your energy clean. It keeps your focus pure. It keeps you moving forward without the weight of constant correction. The world teaches people to move fast, to respond instantly, to prove something all the time. But success doesn't require speed. It requires accuracy. One smart decision can be more valuable than 10 rushed ones. Calmness gives you that ability to wait for the right move instead of jumping at the first one. That's where long-term success comes from. Not reacting to everything, but choosing what's worth your energy. Calmness also helps you listen better. Most people only hear to respond, but a calm person hears to understand. That makes them more effective in conversations, in business, in relationships. They don't get caught in drama. They don't get tricked into emotional traps. They observe, they analyze, they decide. That kind of discipline turns everyday decisions into stepping stones for something greater. A single moment of calm can prevent a lifetime of regret. That's not just a quote, it's a reality. Because one wrong word, one emotional reaction, one impulsive step can set you back years. But a calm mind, it stops you, it saves you, it guides you. And in a world where many people are sinking from their own reactions, calmness becomes the mindset that keeps you rising. Calmness is more than a mood. It's psychological control. It means you've trained your mind not to be a slave to the moment. You don't explode when anger hits. You don't collapse when fear creeps in. You stay centered, and that center becomes your strength. It's the quiet control over your thoughts, emotions, and responses that separates the reactive from the intentional. When life throws pressure your way, your nervous system wants to fight, flee, or freeze. That's how the brain is wired to survive. But calmness trains you to override that instinct. You don't run. You don't lash out. You face the storm with presence. That shift rewires your entire mindset. You go from survival mode to command mode, from reacting to leading, from chaos to clarity. This kind of control doesn't just help you win on the outside, it gives you peace on the inside. You stop being at war with yourself. The overthinking, the guilt, the fear, they lose their grip because you've created space between the trigger and the response. That space is where you reclaim your power. You realize you don't have to act on every emotion. You can feel something deeply and still move wisely. And that's what builds real strength. Not just physical, not just mental, but emotional strength. You become harder to shake, harder to offend, harder to break. Your calmness becomes a kind of armor, not to block the world out, but to face it with courage. People feel that energy, they respect it. And more importantly, you begin to respect yourself more too. When you master your mind, you stop blaming the world. You stop depending on things to go your way just to feel okay. You take control, and that control leads to freedom. Not the kind that comes from escaping stress, but the kind that comes from walking through it with power, presence, and peace. Discipline doesn't grow in chaos. It grows in calm. When your mind is quiet, your focus sharpens. Your intentions become clear. You stop chasing distractions and start building habits that actually lead somewhere. Discipline is not about force, it's about alignment. Aligning your actions with your vision. And that starts with a calm mind that isn't pulled in every direction. People often try to force discipline through pressure and guilt, but that never lasts. Real discipline grows from inner stillness, from being able to sit with discomfort without reacting, from being able to do what's necessary, not what's easy. Calmness creates the mental space to make those decisions. When you're calm, you don't look for the exit every time things get hard. You sit with the difficulty. You let it teach you, and that's how you grow. A calm person wakes up with a plan, not panic. They don't get thrown off by every inconvenience. They stay committed even when motivation fades, because calmness teaches you that success isn't built in emotion. It's built in consistency. One step at a time, one decision at a time. Quiet, steady, focused. When you're calm, you're more in tune with yourself. You know when you're avoiding your responsibilities. You recognize your own excuses, and you stop letting them rule your life. That awareness builds self-respect, and self-respect is the foundation of discipline. You begin to act like the person you want to become, not just when it's easy, but especially when it's not. This kind of discipline doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't need validation. It shows in how you move, how you speak, how you follow through. It's a reflection of your mindset. And a calm mindset doesn't break under pressure. It bends, adapts, but never loses direction. That's what makes it powerful. It keeps you on the path when the world is trying to pull you off. The true test of strength isn't when things are going well. It's when everything starts to fall apart. That's when your real character shows. When you're calm under pressure, you prove to yourself that your mindset isn't built on comfort. It's built on control. Most people panic the moment they feel uncertainty. They search for someone or something to blame, but the calm person looks inward and takes ownership. They know that fear is loud, but courage is quiet. Pressure exposes the gap between what people say and who they really are. Anyone can talk about patience, leadership, or strength. But when life turns up the heat, only a few stay composed. That composure doesn't mean they don't feel stress. It means they've trained their mind not to collapse beneath it. That's what separates the average from the elite. Not talent, not luck, but how you respond when everything is on the line. In those intense moments, calmness becomes your competitive advantage. While others are wasting energy panicking or making emotional decisions, you conserve your strength. You think before you speak. You act with intention, not impulse. That kind of control gives you the upper hand, not just in tough situations, but in life. Because challenges aren't going away. Pressure isn't going to stop. But your ability to stay calm changes how much those moments control you. And the best part is, calmness is not something you're born with. It's something you earn through practice, through struggle, through choosing not to react again and again until your calm becomes your default. That mindset doesn't just help you get through problems, it helps you rise through them. You don't just survive, you grow stronger. You don't just cope, you become sharper, more focused, more unshakable. Calmness turns pressure into fuel. It gives you the edge when the world expects you to fold. Your energy has the power to influence every space you walk into. And when your energy is calm, it creates a shift. People notice. They may not know why, but they feel something different. A quiet presence, a grounded force. In a world full of tension and noise, calmness stands out. It brings order where there's confusion. It brings focus where there's distraction. It brings strength without having to prove anything. Calm energy is not about pretending. It's not about holding back emotions. It's about mastering them. It's about being aware of what you feel, but choosing how you express it. That kind of energy carries weight. It speaks without words. It tells people you're in control of yourself, your thoughts, and your emotions. And that control becomes influence. When you walk into a room with calmness, you create balance. You don't compete for attention. You don't feed the chaos. You become the person others look to for stability. And that stability is powerful. It earns trust. It invites respect. People want to follow someone who isn't shaken easily. They want to be near someone who holds peace when everything else feels uncertain. The strongest influence isn't the loudest voice. It's the calmest presence. That presence doesn't demand. It inspires. It doesn't need permission to lead. It just does. Through energy, through composure, through the ability to stay centered. And the more you carry that calmness, the more you realize how rare and valuable it is. You don't need to dominate a room to lead it. You just need to be unmoved by the noise. Because when your energy is calm, you bring clarity to confusion. You bring control to pressure. And that becomes your silent power. The power to influence without force, to lead without words, and to be respected without ever asking for it. Leadership begins with self-control. You can't lead others if you can't lead yourself. And calmness is the root of that control. When you're calm, you're not swayed by emotions, not rushed by pressure, and not trapped by fear. That calm presence becomes your compass, keeping you on course when the world tries to pull you in different directions. The calm leader is the one who sees clearly, acts with precision, and moves with purpose, even in the face of uncertainty. People follow those who bring stability. In moments of crisis, they don't look for the loudest voice. They look for the steady one, the one who stays grounded, the one who doesn't panic. Because calmness gives people confidence. It says, we'll figure this out. It says, we're not going to fall apart. That quiet confidence builds trust, and trust is the foundation of influence. Calm leadership isn't about controlling others. It's about controlling your reactions. It's about understanding the emotions in the room without letting them drown your thinking. It's about being the example of balance when everyone else is losing theirs. That's why calm leaders are rare. It takes emotional maturity. It takes restraint. It takes a deep sense of who you are and what you stand for. Success follows those who can handle tension without spreading it. Calm leaders don't add fire to fire. They bring water. They bring perspective. They bring decisions that are based on long-term vision, not short-term emotion. And in doing so, they rise, not just because of their skills, but because of their presence. The world doesn't need more noise. It needs clarity. It needs people who can lead with strength and stillness. If you can remain calm when others are crumbling, you gain an advantage that can't be bought. You become a leader, not just in title, but in energy, in impact, and in the way people remember you when the storm is over. A calm mind keeps you locked in on what matters. While others are distracted by noise, opinions, and problems that don't belong to them, you stay aligned with your mission. Calmness cuts through the clutter. It sharpens your focus. It helps you see what deserves your time and what's just a trap pulling you away from your goals. Distraction is one of the greatest killers of progress, and calmness is the weapon that defeats it. When your mind is restless, everything feels urgent. Everything feels like a threat or a demand. That's how people waste years chasing things that don't move them forward. But when you train your mind to stay calm, you stop jumping at every sound. You stop running toward things just because they're loud. You begin to move with direction, with reason, with discipline. Calmness also helps you protect your energy. You stop explaining yourself to people who don't understand your vision. You stop reacting to every comment, every rumor, every judgment. That emotional distance gives you strength. You don't have to win every argument. You don't have to respond to every challenge. You're not here to please people. You're here to finish something important. And that focus is only possible when the mind is still. Every great achievement demands attention. Not scattered attention, but deep, consistent, focused energy. Calm people develop that naturally because they don't let life drag them into chaos. They stay grounded. They know what they're building, and they protect it. They understand that not everything deserves a response. Not everything deserves a reaction. And because of that, they grow while others remain stuck. You don't need to do more. You need to do what matters and do it with full attention. Calmness gives you that power. The power to say no. The power to choose wisely. The power to keep your eyes on the goal while the world tries to blur your vision. Something went wrong while generating the response. If this issue persists, please contact us through our help center at help. OpenAI, Calm. Fear loses its grip when calmness takes over. Most of the fear people feel isn't even real. It's imagined. It's the mind creating worst-case scenarios, magnifying what could go wrong, and convincing you to freeze or run. But when you stay calm, you separate what's real from what's just a shadow. You give yourself the space to think, to breathe, and to challenge the fear before it takes control. Calmness doesn't mean you're never afraid. It means you don't let fear drive. You feel the fear, but you don't obey it. That's power, because fear wants to make you doubt. It wants you to overthink, hesitate, and miss opportunities. But when you remain calm, you respond with wisdom instead of panic. You begin to ask the right questions. What's the truth here? What's within my control? What's the next best move? That mindset turns fear into fuel. Anger is another emotion that destroys more than it builds. It clouds judgment. It rushes words that can't be taken back. But calmness puts a barrier between the spark and the explosion. It gives you time to process, to understand, to act instead of react. And when you control anger, you protect your energy. You protect your future. Anxiety, too, fades when you develop the ability to be still. The racing thoughts, the pressure to fix everything, the endless what-ifs, they shrink in the presence of calmness, because a calm mind doesn't chase every thought. It observes. It stays grounded in the moment. And in the moment, most problems lose their power. When you train your mind to stay calm, you take back what fear, anger, and anxiety tried to steal. Your clarity, your peace, your control. That's not just mental health. That's mental power. And the stronger it gets, the more fearless, wise, and focused you become. Calmness is how you rise above the noise within. It's how you stay ready, no matter what tries to shake you. The most powerful transformations happen in silence, in the quiet moments when no one is watching, when there's no applause, no recognition, only discipline and vision. That's where calmness does its greatest work. It removes the distractions, the noise, the unnecessary pressure to perform for the world. In that stillness, you begin to understand who you really are and what truly matters to you. Success doesn't need to shout. It grows in the background. It grows while you're focused, while you're steady, while you're building without seeking attention. Calmness helps you stay hidden when it's time to grow and focused when others are wasting energy trying to be seen. Most people burn out because they want fast results, loud validation, instant respect. But calm people are patient. They know real success is not rushed. It's earned in silence, shaped by consistency, and protected by inner peace. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. You don't have to chase every opportunity, respond to every challenge, or explain every step. You just have to keep showing up day after day with calm determination. The world will try to distract you with urgency, with pressure, with comparison. But none of that matters when your focus is built on something deeper than noise. Stillness allows you to think clearly, to move intentionally, to stay aligned with your purpose. That's where breakthroughs happen. That's where clarity is born. In the quiet, not the chaos. And the more you live in that calm space, the more unstoppable you become. Not because life gets easier, but because your mind gets stronger. You begin to feel different. You walk differently. You speak with more purpose. You lead without trying. And people begin to notice the shift, not because you're louder, but because your calmness speaks louder than anything else. Success built on calmness doesn't fade. It lasts, it grows, it inspires. Success isn't always loud. It often grows in silence, in the moments when nobody's watching, in the hours when no one applauds. While others chase attention, the calm individual builds without noise. They don't seek validation, they seek progress. And because they're not distracted by the outside world, they move with deeper intention. That's how calmness becomes a foundation for lasting success. It keeps your focus rooted in what actually matters. The world moves fast. People want quick wins, instant results, immediate praise. But real transformation doesn't work like that. It demands patience. It demands stillness. It demands showing up every day, doing the work without needing recognition. And that kind of consistency comes from a calm and disciplined mind. You're not reacting to pressure. You're building something real. A calm person doesn't need to announce every move. They don't need to prove themselves every step of the way. They let their results speak. And that's why their progress is different. It's not built on hype. It's built on clarity, purpose, and inner strength. They don't rise with the noise. They rise in spite of it. They understand that silence isn't emptiness. It's focus. Most people burn out because they chase everything at once. But success is about depth, not speed. It's about mastering the basics over and over again until excellence becomes your habit. And you can't do that in chaos. You need space. You need clarity. You need calm. That's where the real work happens. Quietly, consistently, without applause. Calmness keeps you locked in on your purpose while others drift. It helps you move through failure without falling apart. It teaches you that success isn't about doing more. It's about doing what matters with all your energy over time. And when you understand that, the silence doesn't scare you anymore. It becomes your advantage because you know what you're building and you don't need noise to validate it.